Welcome back to the Green Beans Go channel. It's your host, me, and today we attempt to answer this question. Are the Chiefs the worst 9-0 team in NFL history? Or at least can I cherry pick data to prove that to be true? No, guys, no. That is bad journalism. And I'll be honest, when I started making this video, compiling all the data, I was trying to lead this video down a path where this would be the case, where I could say the Chiefs are the worst 9-0 team in NFL history because I'm tired of the Chiefs. I'm tired of the domination. I am tired of Patrick Mahomes. I'm just exhausted with watching this dynasty. All right. And I would love nothing more than people to admit maybe they're just not that good. All right. But I can't do that in this video because it's not fair to you. It's not fair to the Chiefs. It's not fair to the integrity of the game. That is this YouTube video. Here's how this all got started. Every week I put out my honest power rankings, and it's a little bit of a meme. It's funny. It's supposed to be a little bit lighthearted. I do an official video, which many of you watch, where I actually rank them and talk about them, and then I take those rankings and I make it into an easily digestible, funny piece. And in that piece, I said that the Chiefs are the worst 9-0 team in NFL history. Well, I posted this on Reddit. And I don't know if you guys have been on Reddit in the last, year. It's a wasteland. It's a cesspool. People are mean. And there were a lot of people who had something to say about this take, as if this isn't half joking and people can't understand what a meme is. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Point is, I was met with a lot of criticism on this take. And it got me thinking, while I said this tongue-in-cheek, in jest, kind of joking around, I thought, is this true? Like, is there merit to this take that they are the worst 9-0 team in NFL history? So I set out to gather some data, to go through their games, and to create this presentation to hopefully prove one way or another that they are the worst 9-0 team in NFL history. First fun fact of many fun facts in this presentation, Kansas City is the only team in NFL history to begin 9-0 despite trailing in at least 8 of those games. Reddit is not entirely a cesspool and a wasteland because I found this on Reddit. User JP Analyst, you can follow him here. Very interesting chart, very helpful chart. This is the point differential for teams that started 9-0. In other words, compiling by how many points they won through all 9 games. These are the totals. So 34 teams have started 9-0. The Chiefs' point differential is plus 58, which is the lowest of any 9-0 team in history. They are winning by an average margin of 6.4. Their average margin of victory is less than a touchdown. It is the lowest of any team that's ever started 9-0. Video over, case closed. They're the worst team, right? If we look only at point differential, which I think only tells part of the story, right? But in terms of how dominating their victories are. And of course, there's a lot of factors like who they play and things, but we could call the video over here. Of course, we're not going to do that because we really want to get into the deep depths of these 9 games, but it is an interesting piece of information. Now, fun fact that was posted by Jay Fid also in this Reddit thread was the next 4 lowest all made the conference championship games, with 3 going to the Super Bowl, and now the previous lowest team winning it all. So the Colts is what is saying won the Super Bowl that year, and all of these teams went to the respective Super Bowls. So maybe that's good for the Chiefs to be battling in kind of low-score competitive games at the beginning of the year, but still coming away with victories. I think that can teach a team how to have some perseverance and gives them sort of a mental edge in the playoffs when you're playing teams and the games are likely going to be close. Just a theory. So let's look at their schedule. This is who they've played this year. These are all the teams that they faced. And as you see, there's 9 green W's. Now, I've gone ahead and listed the record of the teams currently that they've played on the side. So the Ravens are 7-3, and I give that a thumbs up. Why? Because they have a winning record. Okay, the Bengals are 4-6. I've given it a thumbs down. Why? Because it's a losing record by more than 1 game. Okay, winning record, losing record by more than 1. The faces like such are kind of just 500 records or plus minus 1 game of 500 records. So the reason I put this on here is I want you to see the level of competition they've played. They've played 3 teams with winning records, 4 teams with losing records, and 2 teams that are about 500. So if we take that information and then apply a strength of schedule metric to it. In other words, looking at each of these teams, not only at their record, but seeing the quality of opponents they have played, you can see that the Chargers, they did beat the Chargers, who do have a winning record, but the Chargers' strength of schedule is 31, which means they have the second easiest schedule in the NFL. 32 would be the easiest schedule in the NFL. So all the teams they are beating are good teams with winning records, but they have played bad teams, or the league's bottom feeders, if you will, right? Of course they beat Tampa Bay, but Tampa Bay has had a really hard strength of schedule. They beat the Raiders. The Raiders had a really hard strength of schedule. I compiled this data just to show you. I don't know if this tells you much of a story. I think the if I had to make a stand, I would say that the Chiefs' schedule has been easier than not, but it's respectable, okay? This isn't like an alarmingly easy schedule where I can shut the video off right now and say, yeah, they're 9-0. They're a bad team because they've played nobody. They've played some decent teams, but the decent teams have had an easy strength of schedule. They're still 9-0, okay? So I don't think there's much here, and I wouldn't necessarily fall back on saying their schedule is easy, although I do think it's easier than not. So this brings me to the question, is any NFL team truly good, right? I mean, people are talking about the Baltimore Ravens often, for good reason. A team that is likely going to make a deep playoff run and could be the AFC's representative in the Super Bowl, and they've lost to the Browns and the Raiders. The NFL is so good. We love the NFL because of the fact that anybody can win anytime, right? That is why we have fallen in love with this beautiful mosaic of 32 teams, right? So it's hard to look at something like this and try to quantify it, because any team can win any given Sunday. Speaking of the Ravens, this was game one. We're going to go through each of their games and just talk about what occurred and try to draw some conclusions from that. So I got to remove this gosh darn notification that pops up, okay? I can't let it keep ruining and interrupting my videos, but I don't know how to turn off that notification. The Ravens, all right, had 7 illegal shift penalties week 1. Baltimore won time of possession. They won yards gain. They were sacked less. They were better on third down. The last play of the game was Isaiah Likely to score a touchdown, and his toe was out quite literally by a mini sausage, okay? The Ravens outplayed the Chiefs week 1 and still lost. Moving on to week 2. The Chiefs' 26-25 win over the Bengals saw Patrick Mahomes and company get bailed out on a last-minute defensive pass interference call that sparked controversy across social media. On 4th and 16 at Kansas City's 35-yard lines, Mahomes threw a pass to Rashid Rice that was ruled incomplete. Now, here's the deal. This is a screenshot of the pass interference call. Don't get me wrong, I agree. Here's the ball, here's the defender, here's the contact, here's the receiver. The contact is there before the ball is there. Now, it sucks that it was on 4th and 16, right? Like, that's unfortunate. Cincinnati, once again, led time of possession. They led yards. They were better on third down. They led the turnover margin 1-3. They lost on penalties. They were dominating, much like the Ravens. So again, the Bengals outplayed the Chiefs and lost. So that's 2 games where the Chiefs were the worst team on the field, and they come away with 2 wins. Sorry, I skipped ahead, right? So they're 2-0 to start the year when being down 0-2 in yards gained, third down rate, time of possession, and turnover margin. I don't know how you find the statistics on that. I would be very shocked if you could find me more than 10 teams that have ever had this be the case, right? Like, this is kind of unheard of. So I think they started out pretty lucky to get away with 2 very slim margins after losing in all these categories, okay? Week 3, they go to Atlanta. After a disputed pass interference penalty on 4th and long set up a victory over Cincinnati the previous week, as we just talked about, the Chiefs have gotten away with another one. On 3rd and goal, Cousins looked towards Pitts in the back of the end zone. With his back to the quarterback, safety Brian Cook appeared to collide with Pitts before the ball arrived. That's pass interference, right? Like, there's the ball right here. There's contact. He's pushing him back. I know I don't have a video. It's blatant, okay? Like this was a missed call. This should have been called against the Chiefs, and it wasn't. Now, there was still 4 minutes remaining after that Pitts no call, which means that didn't necessarily decide the game, I don't think, but it definitely would have given Atlanta the lead and an advantage. Now, they got the ball back. They stopped Kansas City. They got the ball back. They had a 4th and 1 on the Kansas City 13, and instead of running it up the middle, which had been working all game, they ran like a stretch play to the left side, and they lost 3 yards. So, ironically, the Chiefs for the first time, lead in yards, time of possession, third downs, and were worse in penalties this game. They still get the win, although arguments could be made about some questionable officiating and also calls on the Atlanta Falcons in that game. Moving on to week 4, I don't have any glaring complaints for their win against the Chargers. They won 17-10. Kansas City led in yards. They lost time of possession. They lost the turnover margin. They did have fewer penalties, which is going to be a trend. Actually, I'll just tell you right now, in 9 games, the Chiefs have never had more penalty yards than their opponents. Take that as for what you will. I'm not going to draw any conclusions there. Then they play the Saints, and this was probably their most dominating win to date, taking them to 4-0. Carr gets hurt late in the game. I don't think it matters. They led in every category. Primetime game in Kansas City, right? It's a tough environment. Good win for them. Then they have a bye. So let's recap their schedule so far. I could argue, a very, very strong argument could be made that they should have lost against the Ravens and the Bengals. 50-50 game probably goes to the Falcons. They had a great win against the Saints, and the Chargers kind of find themselves in the middle of 50-50 and great win, but I lean more towards the Chiefs, giving them credit for the win there. So at worst, at their bye, this team could have been 1-4. If everything went, against them, they had some bad breaks. They got unlucky, 1-4. I think a realistic expectation for this team at the bye was probably 3-2. I think this is probably a 3-2 team at the bye, but they start 5-0. Then they host the San Francisco 49ers, and I think this was their best win to date. But what's interesting is this is Patrick Mahomes' stats in this game. 16 of 27, 150 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks, and a 44 passer rating. I know I'm nitpicking, but this is not something we're used to. The Niners are their best win against one of the more respectable teams that they faced so far, and their quarterback plays this bad, their superstar, their face of their franchise plays this poorly, and they still get the win, right? And we'll talk more about this later. Moving on to the Raiders, they win 27-20. They led all categories, but it was somehow still a 1-score game. I'll count that as a good win. Then they face Tampa Bay, another primetime game in Kansas City. They win in overtime 30-24. Kansas City led in yards, time of possession, and penalties, but they lost the turnover margin. They got the ball first in overtime and scored a touchdown, right? We can argue about what we think overtime rules should be in terms of fairness and equity for both teams, but that's not the point of this video. It's a good win for them. Okay. Then we just saw this game last week. This is the 9th game that they've played. It was a very even, ugly defensive slow game. They got the win 16-14 because of a blocked field goal. You've all seen it. All right. They made a great play when it mattered, and I can't fault them for that. But it makes me sit here and put my head in my hands and say, when is it going to stop? When is a game at the end of regulation going to go against the Chiefs? All right. So looking at their whole schedule, this is kind of where I place all of the teams in terms of where I think they could have, should have, whatever. Should have lost, probably Ravens, probably Bengals, and really probably Denver. If they hit the field goal, the game is over. 50-50, we'll call Falcons. Good win, but maybe could have gone the other way, would be Chargers and Buccaneers, and great win. We see those 3 teams. So at worst, I think this is a 3-6 team. If everything goes the opposite of what it has, this team's 3-6. A realistic is probably around 6-3, but as we know, they are 9-0. So why could you argue yes? Let's start drawing some conclusions from this data. Why could you argue yes, this team is the worst? Well, 4 of their games, of their 9 games, so almost half of their games have been decided on the last play. Not the last possession, not the last fourth quarter. I'm talking about the clock is about to be done. Like the game is over. It depends on one thing. And they are 4 for 4 and 9 games of it going their way. 7 games have been decided by 1 score. That's 7 out of 9. Right? They have the lowest margin of victory historically, which is a pretty interesting stats. And they've played a mediocre schedule. I'm not going to say it's easy. I'm not going to say it's hard. I think it's kind of right in the middle. All right. So here's my conclusion. Conclusion number 1. While they have played well, we can't ignore that they have had some lucky breaks. So this is kind of how I'm taking all that I've shown you, and I'm reaching in with my grubby little hand, and I'm grabbing what I can, and I'm pulling it out, and I'm saying this is my conclusion here. This is a really solid 7-2 football team with a new identity that we are not used to seeing. Gone are the high-flying days of the Mahomes MVP-style offense, and I think that is the key. And here's conclusion number 2, which I believe is probably I believe this is right. I believe this is the cognitive dissonance that football fans are facing. We are tempted to say they are the worst 9-0 team, not because we are comparing them to other 9-0 teams historically, but because we are comparing them to themselves from previous years. So what do I mean by that? We are saying they're the worst 9-0 team because they're not winning how they used to win. And that, I think, is bothersome to our brains. This is not the same Kansas City team, but they're having the same or better results that they've had in previous years, okay? We can't deny that Isaiah Pacheco, their starting running back, is hurt. We can't deny that they have added Hopkins, and that is probably going to only increase their success offensively. We can't deny that their defense is the backbone, which goes back to conclusion number 2, that we are not necessarily used to defense being the thing that Kansas City is known for. They're known for being an offense with Hall of Fame players who continue to put up points and do miraculous things, and that's changing, and we have to get used to that, all right? We can't deny that they're making the right plays when it matters. We also can't deny that they always seem to heat up down the stretch, and they'll probably win out, okay? I should have included their schedule, their remaining games, and talked about it. It doesn't matter because in all likelihood, they will probably have home field advantage in the playoffs. The road to the Super Bowl is going to once again go through Kansas City, which is frustrating, right? Because Lamar Jackson can't win there. Josh Allen can't win there. And I'm tired of it. I'm sick of this dynasty. I don't want to watch it anymore. So, are the Chiefs the worst 9-0 team in NFL history? Probably not. Probably not. And I think if we could get used to the fact that this is a different Chiefs team that are able to win in a way we haven't seen, which is even more frustrating, right? They've lost the Chiefs have lost their identity, but are playing better. The Chiefs have changed. The Chiefs have arguably gotten worse in terms of what they are doing offensively. But somehow they are better for it because of what it's done or required of their defense. I hate this team. But I can't sit here and say they're the worst 9-0 team in NFL history. And I hope that somebody in the AFC can take them down because I don't want to watch another Chiefs Super Bowl. I'm tired of it, okay? Stop it! Sorry, I'm going to figure that out because that's annoying, okay? Thank you guys. I appreciate you for coming by and watching my films, my breakdowns, and more to come later. We'll be seeing you on the Green Beans Go channel. Hit that subscribe, like, and comment button. Write a nice note to me. Bye-bye.